Welcome back to another edition of the Here We Go podcast. I am your host, Trent Ging, and it is officially day one of the legal tampering period, and a lot of negative comments on social media right now. Wanted to go over a couple of things. So, number one, I think the thing of today for the Pittsburgh Steelers was obviously the report that they are working on a deal, a one-year deal with Darius Slay. Not the direction I thought they would go with that move. Slay's still performing at a really high level. Definite upgrade, in my opinion, over Dante Jackson. But at 34 years old, he's not by any stretch of the imagination a long-term solution. I think the biggest piece of news is that we still don't have a quarterback. Justin Fields obviously goes and signs the 2-year, $40 million deal with the New York Jets. It's kind of shocking that they didn't make a stronger push for Justin because now they're kind of in a QB purgatory at this point. And I kind of said from day one that they really needed to say, here's 2 years, $30 million, and you have the keys to the car. You're a guy. I still think that would have got this done, but they continued, according to reports, if you believe a lot of the reports that are out there from people who are posting this all over social media, the Steelers lowballed Justin Fields throughout the whole process, tried to throw a 2-year, $30 million deal out there, and the New York Jets came in at 2 years and $40 million. So I have not really changed my numbers at all throughout this entire process. I kept saying those were the two options. Either you get this thing done with Fields before free agency, or once he hits free agency, the number goes up. Steelers weren't willing to match that offer, and that's basically what it came down to. And Justin and his camp are going to go and take the better of the two deals. Thought that we had a better roster, but he gets to play with Garrett Wilson again. And here we are left with kind of a dumpster bin of quarterbacks that are still remaining. So where do we go from here? First, I'm going to talk a little bit as I see the news come in here right before this thing started. Najee Harris is officially a San Diego Charger. I lost to San Diego. Yeah. Good Lord. I stated myself there a little bit. Los Angeles Charger, 1-year deal, $9.25 million. It's interesting. I actually thought his number was going to be a little higher than that after seeing the Aaron Jones deal, considering how much younger he is. But there's not a whole lot of action going on today for the Steelers on that side. We have obviously, as of late, just to kind of recap some of the stuff we've done, the trade with DK Metcalf for the second-round pick swap of the 6th and 7th rounds. Cole Holcomb revised his contract, saved $5 million. I don't know why it's not. Sorry, I don't know why I wouldn't let you comment on X, but I believe it should be live on both. The also placed the second round tender on Jaylen Warren. It's just going to pay him $5.346 million. Jaylen Warren is obviously the guy that they thought was going to be the starting running back, being a restricted free agent. That pretty much made that a real simple deal. There was a couple different routes they could have gone with that. The second round tender essentially is going to basically guarantee that no one else was going to offer any kind of a contract for him, which keeps the number relatively low. So, I mean, the Darius Slay, I've not seen a ton of people talking about that one just yet. Pittsburgh did release Larry Ogunjobi. I think that was a move everybody was waiting to see happening, and I think that was something that was very predictable. I was a little surprised it didn't happen sooner. There's a ton of defensive line movement in today because of obviously such a strong draft coming up, but saved $7 million with that. And then the last move of the day, Pittsburgh Steelers sign linebacker Malik Harrison, 2-year, $10 million contract. Probably signals the end of Elena Roberts, which is very unfortunate to me because I really like Elena Roberts a lot. So that's an unfortunate thing. I thought that was somebody that they would probably try to keep around. I was actually kind of shocked that you're not going to keep him around. So, other news: Dan Moore Jr. got the bag today. 4 years, $82 million, $150 million guaranteed, which is absolutely nuts. So much higher than I actually thought he was going to get. The Chargers also signed Dante Jackson, so they took two guys from us for 2 years and $13 million. Again, I don't think that was anything quite serious. So comp picks next year, 3rd, 4th, and 6th so far without Daniels and Najee. That's significant. We're a team that hasn't gotten comp picks in forever because we don't put up very quality free agents very often. So it's good to know. We're going to need those picks. They're going to try to acquire picks. And I'd be honest, it seems right now, and this is day one, so I'm not trying to overreact at all, but kind of seems like the team's moving towards trying to make sure they keep those comp picks too. The moves that they're going to make and continue to make seems like they want to try to continue to keep those picks. That way they can probably load up on a quarterback in next year's draft. Slay is really not. I know he's not a done deal by any means, and no one can sign until Wednesday anyway. This is just a tampering period, so nothing can really happen until Wednesday officially. Same with the DK Metcalf trade. It's in the works, but it's not technically official until he actually gets to sign on Wednesday. So there's going to be some stuff still waiting to be done. What should we do at running back? So I think that, again, going back to the Jalen Warren getting that 2nd round tender, they will probably view him as the starter. And I don't know that we're going to make a big move beyond that at running back and free agency. They will bring in a free agent. I don't think Cordero Patterson's going to hang around the roster again. He was pretty bad last year. So I think they're probably going to let Patterson go. He'd be another guy I would be ready to see show up on the release list here. And you talk about Chubb and Dobbins. I mean, I would be intrigued by J.K. Dobbins based on what he did last year. I mean, he actually was pretty good last year for a good chunk of the season. Super unreliable with his injury history, but you don't need him as your full-time starter if Jalen Warren's planning to be your full-time starter. And I also think that they are going to draft a running back in this draft class. So I could actually see them going with maybe like more of a 3rd down back. Kenneth Gainwell's a guy whose name's been thrown around a good bit from some people that I listen to. I could see making a more low-level move like that and then making a play for a guy in the draft. Depends on how high they are. And now that they lose a 2nd round pick, does that adjust their draft board any? I'm not sure. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll kind of find out with that. But look, I think one of the things that's going to be – I actually do like A.J. Dillon. So A.J. Dillon's been brought up here too. I actually really like A.J. Dillon. Watched him play at Green Bay. I think he would bring something different to the offense that we haven't had. Outside of Najee Harris is that big, powerful guy who can push the pile a bit. Doesn't have to be a game breaker. Doesn't have to be, the workhorse. So he could be a really good situational player, especially in short yardage, which is an area we've definitely struggled in. And we're going to continue to struggle because you're not going to have the legs of Justin Fields to bail you out on 3rd down like we had earlier in the season. You're going to need somebody who can pick up those short yardage type of situations, and I think he would be a really good one. So, as far as the quarterback position is concerned, this is going to get really, really interesting. And now I think at this point, I know we all want something done, but what's the rush? There's allegedly a contract on the table for a guy like Aaron Rodgers right now. My God, I think we could guarantee ourselves to get the top pick in the draft if we went with Skylar Thompson at quarterback 1. But I don't know what the hurry is. If they want Aaron Rodgers to be their guy, that's, obviously a table, they've got an offer out there on the table for him. Be interested to see how strong that offer is. 42-year-old quarterback. I don't know. Probably the part that's most intriguing to me is we kept hearing all offseason, and we heard Art talk about this too. Everybody kept saying that it was Justin was the preference, and then Russell Wilson was their plan B. So why isn't Russell Wilson signed yet? Was he really plan B, or was this just some kind of conjecture in case they wanted to go after a free agent to throw people off the scent, thinking maybe that they're not interested in a guy like Aaron Rodgers, that they wouldn't be interested in a Kirk Cousins, that they wouldn't be interested in a Daniel Jones, or whatever bottom of the pile quarterbacks that we want to throw in this conversation. But you go out and you make a move for the wide receiver. And now that you miss on Justin Fields, now again, I'm not saying Justin Fields was going to be like this franchise-changing quarterback because he's been in the league. I just thought he was the best of the options that are available. So does a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who looked like a shell of himself last year, come in here and play much better? I don't know. It's very possible. He's broke news on Pat McAfee before, so that's actually not like outside the realm of possibility by any stretch of the imagination. So he and Pat obviously are close. He's on the show quite a bit. And if I'm not mistaken, did he not announce the Jets deal on the Pat McAfee show? But I could be wrong on that, but I feel like that was like in a part of that announcement. I know he's broke news on that show in the past, so I don't know. Aaron Rodgers has been a great quarterback in this league for a really, really long time, but that guy who played last year just did not look anything like the guy who played in Green Bay. So maybe he's still recovering from that injury. Maybe he was pushing himself back too fast. Maybe it needs some extra time to heal, and then one more offseason, maybe he gets better, but just Father Time is undefeated, and I kind of question whether or not you are ever going to fully recover from an injury like that at that age. So, I know Brady played forever, but Brady didn't have the injury like this at that age. So what's he going to be? I don't know. Does Russell Wilson actually make more sense at this point? Throwing the deep ball, he's already got a connection with George Pickens. He's already got a connection with DK Metcalf. Does he make more sense? I could see people making an argument for that. I still don't think he does personally, especially with the fallout that he had with Arthur Smith that became very public, his own team. I assume you're talking about Russ on this one. I don't think so either. But you got Russ's own team putting out the comments about how he and Arthur Smith weren't getting along at the end of the year. That's kind of really throwing your your offensive coordinator under the bus. And so what would that relationship be like? What would the dynamic be like if you tried to bring him back into the fold? I think that would be kind of a crazy thing. And then you have this room where a quarterback, offensive coordinator aren't seeing eye to eye. You're going to have two alpha dogs at wide receiver who both want the ball all the time. They're going to probably be barking at each other a little bit. It would make for kind of a messy offensive room. So I don't know that that's a great option, but like we're just in such a bad spot right now that it's still a possibility. Kirk Cousins, he looked completely washed. Some of the last 9 interceptions he threw were just god awful. He can't move. He looks like a statue back there. Oh, so you're saying you think that the Steelers don't want him and the Giants do? That's very possible. There's just so many rumors that go on this time of year that it's honestly quite hard to keep up with. But I really think that the quarterback situation is going to get messy. And no matter how messy this thing gets, I don't think Jackson Dart's going to be the guy. For everybody keeps saying like they're going to draft Jackson Dart in the first round. Why? He is a 3rd round quarterback in any draft, including this one. He's not very good. Like, he does not read the field at all. He does not read defenses at all. He is a very structured quarterback who is told where to throw the ball and when to throw the ball, and he still throws late all the time. He's going to be a turnover machine. He reminds me a ton of Kenny Pickett. Nowhere near as old as what Kenny Pickett was when he came out, but he does read the field pretty terribly, and he played in a very basic offense. So I know people always want like the younger guy who is coming into the draft because there's always like stuff. I personally, if this team is going to go into the draft, I mean, I don't see a massive difference between a guy like Jackson Dart, a guy like Quinn Ewers, who's probably going in the 4th or 5th round, maybe. A guy like Will Howard, who I actually am a huge High State fan. Everybody knows that. I thought he was a 7th round quarterback at best. I know he played really, really well in the playoff, and that definitely improved his draft stock pretty dramatically. He could go as high as 3rd round. I still view him as like a 4th or 5th round guy. So I just don't know why in the world we would try to get a Jackson Dart in the 1st or even the 2nd round, now that we don't even have a 2nd round pick. But hypothetically, if we had a 2nd round pick still, why would you draft a guy that highly if he's not that far off from Quinn Ewers, who actually played most of the season hurt, still has a better arm, throws from more angles. He's got some athletic ability in him himself. Jackson Dart is not exactly like the most agile guy in the world. He is pretty in line with Kenny Pickett in so many ways. So I don't see why you would take a 1st-round quarterback in this draft class that is terrible, knowing that you have something much better coming up in the next year. We're loading up on picks. We're going to have an opportunity to trade up in this next draft class and go get the guy. This is all about building your roster out right now, trying to put the best team on the field that you can for 2025, but setting yourself up down the road for 2026. You could say Darius Slay does not fit that argument, but what he does do is give Corey Trice another year under his belt to show he can be a long-term solution at corner. Darius Slay can start and he can play all season this year. If Corey Trice keeps developing and he stays healthy, that builds trust in the organization that he could be the guy moving forward. And then you start talking about, now you have, a guy that you picked up way down at the bottom of a draft being a potential starter for your team. So I think that makes a ton of sense, and I agree with this completely. I still think D-line is the most likely thing. And, I was a guy who said wide receiver at first. The DK Metcalf trade really takes that off the table. You're not drafting a wide receiver in the 1st round if you just traded for DK Metcalf, unless there is a trade between now and, April 20th, when the first day of the draft happens, where we actually move on from George Pickens. At this point, why would the team move on from George Pickens? I just made the same argument yesterday that I think it's actually less likely they would trade Pickens at this point and let him play out the last year of his contract and see what you get. See if he and DK can coexist. Because if you can keep both those guys and they both play very well and they both have the right attitude moving forward, that's a great situation to bring a rookie quarterback into. So I actually think this makes it less likely that they move on from George Pickens, and probably makes me eat a little bit of my own crow because of the fact that I said that I really thought they were willing to move on, because that's kind of the things you kept hearing from the team. A guy like Hargrave would be a great defensive lineman to bring in there, and be a rotational piece, and he can stop the run. And he's already been in this defensive system, and he's played well in that defensive system. So I'd be all for that. Murphy and Samuel, I don't know. I would much rather have either of those guys than Darius Slay at this point. But now that they're making that move, as long as it sticks, I'm not sure that that's going to happen. Oh, I actually didn't see this, so that's good to know. I did not see that Murphy got re-signed. I saw other people talk about this Cooper Kupp. You're not going to have anybody on that wide receiver room that plays any special teams at all. So that would be kind of an interesting thing if they did that, because you've got Roman Wilson, who does not play special teams, has not played special teams. I'm not even sure he's played in college on special teams. Calvin Austin, who is only a punt returner. He does not play anything else outside of that. I think they should bring back Ben Skoranek. And Skoranek obviously is a guy you could put at special teams, but then you would have your top 3 receivers with 0 special teams snaps between the 3 of them. So I don't think they're going to go that route. I think they're probably going to go down a different road and probably get a guy who could play a little more on the special team side, very similar to Ben Skoranek, who I thought actually played really well last year and pretty much every position he's been put into. Yeah, I'm definitely on that. And Lockett, I think Lockett would be, I mean, it'd be great offensively to add these guys, but again, like he's bringing 0 special teams value. And if you're getting down into where you're pushing your 4th, 5th receivers on the team, you've got to bring some special teams value. Yeah, I know Lockett would slide into 3rd, but then you're pushing down Calvin Austin, you're pushing down Roman Wilson. I think they're going to ride it out with both of those guys and see which one comes out. And then they're probably going to get a wide receiver 5 who actually does bring some special teams value. So we'll see how that part plays out. But I really honestly believe that we're going to look at a team right now where you still have to build for the future. We don't even know like what we have in Broderick Jones right now. If we bring in Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins or one of these older quarterbacks that simply just can't move, should we be considering drafting a tackle in the 1st round? Colin actually, messaged me earlier today in a private message, and he's like, I would absolutely draft tackle 1st round. And I can't say that he's wrong. Like, you don't know what you have in Broderick Jones. I said, number 1, I don't think the team will do that because they just invested 2 first-round picks and 2 left tackles essentially. But number 2, they absolutely should, because you can't trust Broderick Jones right now. So if you're going to bring in an older quarterback that is not mobile, then we have to really consider how much trust we're putting into Broderick Jones. And I don't know. So we'll see how that whole thing plays out. But I still think it ends up being defensive line, especially because so far we've not seen any movement. People are kind of losing their minds on social media right now because there's not like, every big splash player that's getting signed somewhere or re-signed somewhere is not becoming a Pittsburgh Steeler. Guys, we can't sign them all. We do have a ton of cap. We're going to spend more cap, but I still don't think that you're going to Andre Cisco 1-year, $10 million deal with to return back to his own. But I just don't think that you're going to spend nothing but big name free agents. You have to spend smart. We have a lot of holes to fill. I would love to see this team bring in a guard. Give Mason McCormick some competition. A good swing, interior defense or offensive lineman. That'd be a great idea. I'd like to. They still probably need to bring back at least like a Calvin Anderson or somebody to be a swing tackle. So we still have a lot of holes to fill. Honestly, I know we signed Darnell Parham, but I wouldn't even mind bringing in another tight end. As much as we used tight ends last year, Hunter Henry, I can't remember if he got re-signed or if he's still out there or somebody of that nature. I would not mind bringing them in. I saw somebody throw Evan Ingram out there. He's probably going to cost too much, but be worth testing the waters because we run 4 tight ends. And to be perfectly honest with you, like I saw Kyle Juszczyk before I went on here, got released. Like he's a guy I would watch out for, a guy who's got fullback experience and can play tight end. Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely look at Kyle Juszczyk. I don't, maybe, I mean, like, I don't think we're going to use a lot of draft capital and quarterback at this, in this draft. So typically the team uses 4 camp arms. If they wanted to sign Trey Lance on a really cheap deal to come in and compete for Skylar Thompson to be the quarterback 3, I mean, why not? If he's going to want bigger money than that, or if somebody is willing to invest anything more than like a league minimum into him, then I wouldn't go above that. But I don't see why not bringing him in there and just let him ride it out for some competition. I mean, it's not like Skylar Thompson is like this accomplished quarterback in the NFL by any means. Yeah, I mean, I like Darnell. I liked the way they used him. I wish they would do it a little bit more often than they did last year. I like those little check downs to him and just get him the ball and let him like use his size um, to go. He's just such a terrible route runner. Like that's the only problem with Darnell is like he's a tight end that weighs allegedly 315 pounds. Like you're not going to be a great route runner because you're too big and you don't move fluidly enough. That's pretty cool, actually. That's a pretty cool one there. So maybe give the ex-boyfriend a call, see if he's a Steeler fan, and see if Kyle wants to come here. I think Kyle would be a great fit in this offense, to be honest with you. If we want to run the ball, he's done so much good as a fullback. And like I said, he moved to tight end with San Francisco. He was a pretty viable player there for them. So he would definitely be a guy that I'd be interested to see if the team makes a call on. It'd be cheap too, I think, at this point in his career. I think he'd be a cheaper player. So I think it's a matter of just kind of hold on tight and don't expect all of the big moves to happen on the very first day. I know we saw a lot of things happen. The Grady Jarrett thing was like crazy. I know X went down for a period of time, but I think if I saw the time frame of it right, it looked like he got released and like an hour later, he already had like a 3-year, $45 million deal. I saw it when I was at work. That was pretty wild. So it's fun, man. It's fun to watch all this stuff go down, but don't get excited. This isn't Madden where you can just go buy anybody that you want. I think so. Going into day 2 with no cornerback 2 and QB. Yeah, I think so. Cause I mean, Darius Slay is going to be the cornerback 1. I don't know if they'll make a play for a slot corner. I mean, would it be that crazy if they tried to bring back Mike Hilton right now? Use Mike Hilton on the early downs and Beanie Bishop and more of the passing downs? I don't think that'd be that crazy personally. And a reunion sometimes can make sense. It's just a matter of, is the money going to be right? But quarterback, I don't know. I don't think they're going to go after a quarterback in day 2. I could be wrong. I mean, I could be wrong on any of this stuff. Like I said, I don't claim to have like insider knowledge or anything like that, but just kind of some of the things that I see and trying to read through some of the tea leaves of things. Like, I just don't think there's a ton of interest there in the quarterback market. And I know a lot of people get excited and talk about, oh, well, they talked to this player and they talked to that player at the Senior Bowl, talked about this player, talked to that player at the Combine, but they're going to talk to everybody. That's just kind of the nature of the game. They're going to talk to absolutely everybody and try to get as much information on these players as possible because you could potentially be facing them twice a year. You could be looking at somebody that maybe you think is outside your range right now, probably doesn't fit your board right now, but maybe they could be somebody that you could pick up, in their second contract. So, of course, they're going to talk to everybody. I think people blow that stuff out of proportion. The top 30 visits, that's when you start taking things really, really seriously. We saw like Mason McCormick, and I was questioning, like, why are they like talking to a 4th-round guard with a top 30 visit? And then, well, they were talking to him because they were drafting him. Like they were ready to draft him. And you know what? Worked out so far. So, I mean, you start seeing some of these top 30 visits going through. That's when it's kind of, very telling of some of these guys that they're really, really looking at and they're taking seriously. So I'm going to be wrapping this one up tonight, but I thought it was a really, really fun day 1. I think that, oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely loves picking up players on their second and third contract. That's why he talks there. That's why he's so heavily involved in the Senior Bowl. And that's why he's so heavily involved with the Combine stuff. And he's there every day. He's on the field every day. And he does his due diligence for all the things that people like to bash Tomlin for. His offseason work is second to none. That is absolutely for sure. They don't always hit on all their draft picks, but his work that he puts in there is second to none. So I just want to let everybody know, like, the quarterback situation didn't work out. I posted on X kind of jokingly, like, should I be taking a victory lap for getting the Justin Fields contract nailed down, or should I be a little pissed off because of the fact that we don't have Justin Fields on the roster anymore? And I still think that was a mistake. So we'll see how it plays out. Maybe we'll get the best version of Aaron Rodgers, and that will cover well. Maybe Russ mends some fences with Arthur Smith, and he comes back here. Maybe we look to a Daniel Jones, and maybe we hope he becomes the next Sam Darnold and resurrects his career. It's going to be a long path, but I would just say kind of ride it out, take a deep breath. We'll see what happens. Just hope the team has a plan, because right now it's looking like they've made some moves that are a little less than desirable. The Malik Harrison thing didn't make sense to me, because I personally would have rather had a Landon Roberts. Darius Slay, a 34-year-old corner who's very, very good, still playing at a high level, but like when he hits that cliff, how far off does he fall off that cliff? Like that can happen quick with a corner. So we'll see. But hope y'all enjoyed your first day of the legal tampering period. I look forward to see what's coming tomorrow, and hopefully the Steelers get a little bit more aggressive and start making some more moves, because they still got a ton of money to spend, and I would imagine they are a team who historically spends all of it. So if they get a bunch of money to spend, they're going to spend on somebody, and maybe the quarterback's kind of holding up some of the moves. So hope y'all enjoy this. As always, like, share, subscribe. Okay. You're actually the second person who's talked about this kid. I got to look into him, because I don't know too much about him. I'll be pretty blunt. So how about this? Between now and maybe the next live stream that me and Colin do, I'll look into this kid a little bit more, because I've definitely not heard of him being a big time guy. But if I'm not mistaken, he wasn't at the combine or anything. So I'll look into him. So I appreciate that comment. But hope y'all have a great night. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'm sure we'll be having some stuff to talk about tomorrow as well. We'll see you.